Hi everyone, it's me Mr. Gowler. Hope you're ready for another story time, reading yet again some more Greek myths, and we should be doing this for the rest of this week and then we should be finished with most of them, so I do hope you're enjoying them. Today we've got one called Peresphone and the Pomegranate Seeds. In those early days, the weather was always warm and sunny. The flowers were always in bloom, the crops were always ready for harvest. The goddess Demeter tended the countryside like a garden, planting seeds, watering the green grass, encouraging the trees to put on first blossom, then leaves, and then fruit. And while Demeter worked, her little daughter Peresphone used to play in the green woods of Sicily, picking violets until her apron was full. When mother and child walked home hand in hand at the end of another sunny day, talking and singing and laughing together, the evening primroses opened just to watch them pass by. Pluto was not so lucky. Although he was a god, he did not live on the top of Mount Olympus in halls of cloud and sunlight, or on the earth among trees and fields. Pluto ruled over the kingdom of the dead, and lived under the earth in darkness and bitter cold. Not one ray of sunshine ever found its way down into those echoing caverns and tunnels. But worse than either cold or dark was the loneliness. Pluto tried to find a wife, but nobody wanted to give up the sunshine, the flowers, or the glittering sea to live in Pluto's dismal kingdom beneath the ground. Sometimes Pluto would climb to the brim of the underworld and peep out at the girls and women playing in the sun. The bright light hurt his eyes, but the sight of all those pretty women hurt even more. One day he saw Peresphone picking violets in her Sicilian wood. "That's the one," murmured Pluto. "How beautiful she is! Oh yes, she's the wife for me." But Pluto did not go to Demeter and ask to marry her daughter. He knew she would say no. Instead, he harnessed his black chariot and thundered out into the sunlight. Lashing his whip, he drove his horses on at full tilt. All Sicily shook at his coming, and his wheels felled trees to right and left as he raced through the woods. Holding the reins in his teeth, Pluto leaned out and snatched Peresphone by her long hair. Her apron spilled all its violets. "Who are you? What do you want with me? Oh, let me go. Help me, somebody. Mother, help me," she cried. The trees bawled after Pluto. "Come back! Leave her alone!" Their green leaves flushed red with shouting, but Pluto took no notice as he raced back to his underworld. He struck out with his whip. The earth split open. A bottomless ravine gaped, and his chariot sped downwards. Down into the dark, down into the cold, he carried Peresphone. "Don't cry," he told her. "I shall make you my queen. Be happy. I'll give you all the riches of the earth, gold and silver and gems. You have the love of a king. What more do you want?" "I want to go home. I want my mother," sobbed Peresphone. When they reached the river Styx, which divides the earth from the kingdom of the dead, she cried out, "River, help me! I am Peresphone. Help! Save me, please!" The river heard her and knotted itself around the god's legs, almost tripping him. But Pluto kicked it aside like a dog. In despair, Peresphone slipped off her belt of flowers and threw it into the tumbling water. "Take that to my mother and tell her," she pleaded. The river took her belt and hurried away. Then darkness closed in on all sides. Pluto had reached home with his captive wife. Meanwhile, up on the earth, Demeter came looking for her daughter at the end of the day. "Peresphone, darling, time to go home." But there was no answer. Demeter called out and asked everyone she met, but it was hopeless. Peresphone had simply disappeared. All Demeter's work was forgotten as she searched high and low for the child. Nothing mattered but to find Peresphone. So the flowers wilted, the crops stopped growing, and as Demeter wept, the trees wept with her, shedding their leaves in brown and yellow tears. After searching the world over, Demeter returned to Sicily and sat down in despair beside the river. As she gazed at the water, what should come spinning by on the current but a little cord of flowers? Peresphone is in the underworld, whispered the water. I saw her. Pluto has stolen her away to be his queen. Then Demeter ran all the way to Mount Olympus and rattled at the gates of heaven. Zeus, Lord, Zeus, help me! Pluto has stolen away my daughter. Make him give her back. Zeus listened to poor Demeter. You say your daughter was taken by force? Pluto shouldn't have done that. But there again. Oh, Zeus, she interrupted him. If I don't get my daughter back, how shall I go on decking the earth with flowers and fruit? I only do it with joy, and without Peresphone there is no joy for me. Let the earth wither and die for all I care. Zeus shivered at the thought. The little people on the earth would quickly stop paying tribute to the gods if their crops stopped growing and their trees died. It's not up to me, he said gruffly. There are rules. If Peresphone eats anything while she is in the underworld, she cannot come back up to the earth. That's the rule. Then what are you waiting for? Said Demeter. Send your messenger this instant. And though Zeus sent Hermes fastest flying of all the gods, Demeter sped ahead of him that day, pulling on his sleeve, begging him to hurry. Meanwhile, below the earth, Pluto laid in front of Peresphone a delicious feast. He knew what she did not, that if she ate one mouthful, she must stay with him forever. I'm too miserable to eat, sobbed Peresphone. Let me go. Why don't you let me go? It's so dark and gloomy here. Pluto no longer thought his kingdom was dark or gloomy. Now that Peresphone sat on a throne beside his, it seemed bright and cheerful. Hosts of ghosts came streaming through the darkness to gaze at his new bride. Pluto was very happy indeed. But you must eat, my dear. Just try a little something. He had up a dish of limes, an almond cake, a cup of broth, tempting her to eat. So I'm just going to pause it there. I would like you to have a think whilst you're, after you finish this, and just think in your head, don't have to write anything down, just think what you think might happen next. Maybe write on a piece of paper or think it in your head actually, and then see tomorrow if you are actually correct. But like you say, you do not have to, that's just maybe something you would like to do. So tomorrow we shall finish the last 3 pages of the story. So I do hope you enjoyed that, and I shall see you tomorrow for part 2 of Peresphone and the pomegranate seeds. Until then, goodbye everybody.